It's great to stay up late. Good morning to you.
Convincing?
Enchanting. What?
Don't you get it? Use Kathy's voice. Lena just moves her mouth and Kathy's voice comes over singing and talking for her.
That's wonderful.
Dubbing in movie musicals. Singin' in the Rain might be the first to make a plot point out of it.
Don't you remember I told you? There's a microphone right there. In the bush.
But it's literally been around as long as talking pictures have.
Nothing but little blue sky, do I see, do.
But because of studio politics and actor pride, these Hollywood ghost voices often went ignored, or worse.
And they said that if anyone ever knew that I did any part of the dubbing, that they would see to it that I wouldn't work in town again. Ooh. Can you imagine? I was scared to death.
How did dubbing become common practice?
For tonight, I'm gonna do my own talking. I'm gonna make the speech.
And what does it mean for today's cinema?
And I'm Javert.
Well,
I am just about to be brilliant. Watch my mouth.
You're watching Musical Theater MASH.
contemporary opinions on movie musical dubbing hit my Facebook feed about a month ago when Jackson McHenry of Vulture.com published an article titled, "If we're going to cast movie stars in musicals, it's time to bring back dubbing." The gist of it is this: contemporary movie musicals are on an upswing, but we keep casting stars who can't sing. McHenry references Emma Stone in La La Land as a standout problem, and Emma Watson in Beauty and the Beast as being just sort of fine. The solution, McHenry proposes, is the old Hollywood practice of dubbing. Now, I agree with McHenry on the first point. If we're going to keep doing contemporary movie musicals, and we totally should, we need to have a serious talk about casting people who can't actually sing in these roles. But to his solution of bringing back dubbing, well, we've got to start from the beginning if we're going to unpack that one.
Goodbye. Don't cry.
Talking pictures and the film The Jazz Singer go hand in hand. Remember that for next time you're on Jeopardy! It wasn't the Warner Brothers' first movie with synchronized sound, but it's certainly the most famous. It also really only has just a few minutes of actual talking and singing in it, but boy, what a few minutes they were.
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you. You ain't heard nothing.
But between the revolutionary talking segments and the nuanced but still very racist blackface and the more traditional silent movie title cards is another new revolution. Likely the first moment of dubbed singing in a motion picture. So, to be clear here, there are moments in this film where Al Jolson is on screen singing, and we also hear Al Jolson's voice singing, likely recorded while the scene was filmed. But there are also moments in this movie where one actor is on screen singing and a different person's voice is coming over the sound system in the theater. This is huge. Now, it's very likely that these early dubs were done out of practicality. Early cameras were loud pieces of machinery, and separating out the sound recording greatly simplifies the process. But still, the genesis of sung music in movies begins with an already dangerous precedent. Sometimes the voice you see is the voice you hear, and sometimes it's not.
Today there are many other things that are much more important.
today to get the public to attend a picture show. It's not enough to advertise a famous star they know. If you want to get the crowds to come around, you gotta have glorious Technicolor, breathtaking CinemaScope, and stereophonic sound.
Fast forward a few years, sound catches on, movies sing, there's plenty of dubbing, mostly uncredited, and Hollywoodland is booming as we careen ungracefully into the Hollywood antitrust case of 1948. The United States versus Paramount Pictures Incorporated, and pretty much every other movie studio, ruled that the studio's policies of owning their own cinemas and only showing their own pictures was a de facto monopoly. And so, gone is the studio system, gone is the golden age, and most importantly, gone is a whole lot of money. The 1948 case had lasting repercussions across the cinema landscape, exacerbated by the advent of the television, but for movie musicals, it meant studios needed these films to make more money. Studios needed surefire hits with stars that both looked good and sounded good. Dubbing became the solution to the second part. In comes Marni Nixon, certainly the most prolific of these ghost singers.
My name is Marni Nixon.
I am what is known in Hollywood as a dubber, or a ghost.
Nixon was the uncredited ghost voice in dozens of popular movie musicals, and this is where the problems really begin. Natalie Wood was less than pleased to learn that her singing voice would not see much screen time during West Side Story, and infamously, Audrey Hepburn likely missed out on an Academy Award nomination due to Nixon's dubbing in My Fair Lady. And it wasn't just Marni Nixon. Christopher Plummer was dubbed in The Sound of Music, pretty much everyone was dubbed in South Pacific, and in the most confusing way, Betty Noyes dubbed for Debbie Reynolds, who was dubbing for Lena Lamont in Singing in the Rain.
Would you?
These dubbing decisions were money decisions for the studios. Not only did the movie need to sound good, there was also merchandising of the soundtrack and radio plays of the songs. This all was a big deal. And it feels kinda dirty, right? The stars certainly thought so. Not only were Natalie and Audrey upset about the dubbing, the ghost voices were too. No credit, often no royalties, and certainly no recognition. See, our voices are central to our being. It's a metaphor we use so much we don't even think about it. You know, make sure your voice is heard, or giving a voice to the voiceless. So, of course, when our voices are literally taken away from us, it can feel not so great. But then there's an additional wrinkle, a more contemporary problem that has probably been sitting right in front of you for years. As I mentioned, Marni Nixon, voice of the stars, dubbed for Natalie Wood in West Side Story, and therefore needed to imitate Wood's voice. Well, actually, they're both playing the character Maria, an immigrant from Puerto Rico. That's two very non-Latina actresses portraying a Puerto Rican woman in a show where the plot point is that she is Puerto Rican.
Don't you think that's a little racist?
And of course, Hollywood had plenty of racially insensitive casting at the time. Like, don't even get me started on The King and I, or, Carmen Jones, a movie where Dorothy Dandridge is dubbed by a woman named Marilyn Horn.
Don't you think that's a little racist?
And it gets worse. But before we talk about that, a sidebar on animated movies.
I know that your powers of retention are as wet as a warthog's backside.
All animated movies are dubbed because lions don't actually talk, much less sing. But animated movies afford even more flexibility when it comes to dubbing. Jeremy Irons voiced Scar in The Lion King, and you can hear him here.
Oh, I shall practice my curtsy.
But not here.
Be prepared!
There's varying accounts of how much singing is Irons and how much is one of Disney's favorite ghost voices, Jim Cummings.
And so I sang, but people say, well, you just did like 4 or 5 words. It's all me, man, it's all me. And they did the voices in the front. He did the talking, and then, he never even said the words, be prepared.
But you'd never know it changed, right? And there's no problem here. There's not a lot of racism that can happen with two white men voicing lions. To find the racism, we have to bring back our old friend Marni Nixon.
Beads of jade for beauty, you must proudly show it.
That is Marni Nixon, singing voice of Grandmother Fa in Disney's Mulan. And here...
Woo! Sign me up for the next war!
...is June Foray. Two more white women voicing a non-white character. But it gets worse. The fabulous and appropriately cast B.D. Wong voices Captain Li Shang.
This represents discipline. And this represents strength.
That right there, that's B.D. Wong's voice. Broadway actor B.D. Wong. Tony Award winning B.D. Wong. B.D. Wong, who just the year after Mulan would play Linus in Your Good Man Charlie Brown. But when it comes to Captain Li Shang's singing part, you don't get B.D. Wong. You get...
Serious as the dark side of the moon.
Donny frickin' Osmond.
Because I am not Donny Osmond singing this, I am Shang.
This is not okay. This is not okay! I mean, good on you, Disney, for casting some Asian actors to play the Asian characters in your Asian story, but taking away their voices for the singing?
Don't you think?
Yes! That is racist! So this, Jason McHenry of Vulture.com and the entire internet, is the problem with bringing back dubbing. As Emma Stone, Tilda Swinton, Scarlett Johansson, Matt Damon, and Johnny Depp can tell you, Hollywood has a major whitewashing problem. Throw traditional Hollywood studio dubbing back into the mix, and the internet might just explode with rage at the next Academy Awards. I know I would. What is the solution, then? Well, it's actually buried back in that same Vulture.com article. McHenry writes, there is, of course, another solution to our current scourge of just okay singers. Start casting movie musicals with actors with proven vocal talent.